In the ever-evolving landscape of hip-hop, where creativity and controversy intertwine, one enigmatic figure has emerged, captivating audiences with his unique sound and aesthetics. And better yet, this artist has already successfully passed down the torch to multiple artists under his wing that have progressed the alternative style to new heights, yet in differing directions. After reaching superstardom within a matter of only a few years, there is no doubt that his label is the next breeding ground for upcoming talent to jumpstart their careers, as it seems every association he touches turns to gold. This is the rise of Playboi Carti's infamous Opium label. Dark figures that turn even the brightest lights into demons with their intoxicating allure, suiting solely all black attire, grungy visuals, and an insatiable fanbase eager to consume mere slivers of content that the mysterious label keeps under lock and key. All part of the reason Playboi Carti and Opium could be the strongest upcoming label in the music industry. But to understand the significance of his newly founded Opium label, we must first briefly dive into Playboi Carti's early career and rise to fame, because it plays a massive role as to why Opium has such a strong influence today. For Playboi Carti originally gained recognition for his unique style and sound similar to the strategy he has implemented with his own artists, emerging as a founding father of the cliche title of mumble rapper in the budding SoundCloud era of 2017. His radio smash hit Magnolia landed on Billboard upon its official release on all streaming platforms within his first studio mixtape, including a music video that featured his mentor and label owner A$AP Rocky. Although Carti was already buzzing in the underground internet rap scene before signing to OG with A$AP, it was Rocky's leadership and association as a mainstream act that taught him how to maneuver as a celebrity and, more importantly, as a creative. Purposeful visuals and captivatingly infrequent releases that always kept the fans wanting more. This was truly the beginning of his meteoric rise. The remainder of his career up into the present, Carti has continued and even progressed his mystical demeanor, forcing fans along the way to theorize the smallest of details such as release dates, collaborations, and more. 6 years later, he has only released 2 full-length studio albums with massive success. But that wasn't even his greatest creation. The culmination of Carti's entire branding strategy was the perfect platform to launch his own record label, Opium, that likely draws its visuals and conceptual inspiration from the poppy plant, the main ingredient used in the production of opium, a Schedule II controlled derivative substance commonly produced for high-strength painkillers such as Percocet, codeine, and heroin, glorified in hip-hop lyrics for decades. The label's aesthetic reflects the dark and gritty sound and lifestyle associated with its consumption. Expectedly, not much information is actually known other than that surrounding the origination of the Opium label, aside from speculation, but we receive glimpses into the mind of its creator within tracks like Punk Monk on Carti's latest studio album Whole Lotta Red, released in late 2020, wherein the rapper hinted at his interest in signing Trippie Redd before his rise to fame, but hadn't solidified the infrastructure to back him just yet. Additionally, in early 2020, while still finalizing the aforementioned project, Carti foreshadows his emphasis on maintaining relationships with hundreds of producers. He later confirms his statements in his 2022 XXL magazine spring issue interview by allegedly firstly signing a gang of producers to his label, in my opinion, corroborating the public's opinions regarding his top-tier beat selection and overall influence in the upcoming hip-hop production landscape. It's no wonder he, along with his artists, are known for constantly popularizing new sounds and beat makers such as Pierre Bourne, Filthy, Starboy, and many others. One thing we do know though, but not even from Playboi Carti himself, which seems to be a trend surrounding all his ventures, is that the conception of the Opium label actually began around 2019 and had already been in the works for years, aligning with the timeline of his initial interest in signing Trippie Redd. At least according to longtime friend and producer Ethereal, who recently mentioned in an interview that the label was finally rolling out in early 2020 shortly after working on a second version of the 1629 collab tape with Lil Uzi Vert, that is yet to release, I might add, and probably never will. That year in March, Carti was working with his first artist signee, Ken Carson, for his first studio project, Teen X, who he met at a studio session with Southside from 808 Mafia in 2016, and again outside one of Carti's shows in LA because he was kicked out for fighting. Over the years, he and Carti became closer, both being from Atlanta, and obviously we know how things have progressed since. Ken Carson releases Teen X a few months later in August 2020, including popular track Yale, accompanied by a music video promoted on DJ Academic's Instagram page. Although we were actually first introduced to Ken Carson via a leaked picture of the two posing in front of a mirror months earlier, prior to an Icebox shopping video that was never officially released. At the time, not even realizing who Carti was with. In fact, fans believe Ken Carson was simply his cousin, with no speculation of any business relationship, considering Opium Records had not even been rolled out to the world yet. At the end of 2020, Ken Carson would co-produce with Lil 88 on Playboi Carti's hyperpop influenced track Beano from Whole Lotta Red. Teen X Relapsed would follow soon after its predecessor as another independent EP release, in order to build up Ken's catalog and social proof to entice major labels to pay out a larger recording and marketing budget for the next series of projects. With Carti by his side, or at least with his co-sign, given very few pictures or even collabs between the two exist publicly, Ken had no problems gaining recognition in the underground rap scene for his explosive yet unique blend of electronic trap beats and heavy autotune. Midway through 2021, Ken Carson released Project X, arguably the peak of the recent SoundCloud era due to the popular rage sound that he, Sofago, Carti, and Trippie Redd pioneered and was still in full force. Since then, Ken Carson has been a solidified artist in the new generation of rappers who of course had the talent, but with the combination of Playboi Carti's mischievous marketing tactics behind the scenes, was an undeniable star. But Playboi Carti's greatest asset, at least thus far, has been his second artist signee, Destroy Lonely, who before signing to Opium had already been making waves on his own, captivating a small cult from his distinctive melodic flows and scratchy vocals on futuristic dark beats. Shortly after releasing his Broken Hearts mixtape, Lone was gearing up to drop the deluxe version on Halloween in 2020 by previewing a snippet of his music video for Oh Yeah in an Instagram post, which caught the attention of Playboi Carti's team, by which one of his A&Rs, Jalen, immediately DM'd Destroy Lonely telling him he liked his music. It looks like he wasn't the only one either, because Broken Hearts Deluxe and the associated music video release, and a few weeks afterwards, Jalen FaceTimes Lone to connect him with Carti. The two would lock in at the studio for the next week, recording apparently over 20 songs, again that the public has yet to hear, and the rest was history. Lone became Opium. After signing, Destroy Lonely has undoubtedly flourished far past expectations, progressing his sound to the point where he has carved out his own lane within the underground rap scene, in which underlings have already been influenced. Like Playboi Carti and Ken Carson, he has established a particularly unique sound of his own that was relatively unheard before his emergence, even from his label mates, such as rock and guitar elements, as well as ambient 808s in his instrumentals that exude a relaxed feel when combined with his lazy flow. Showcased with the latter half of his highly acclaimed first studio project, No Stylist, all the while maintaining high energy with hit streaming single No Stylist on the very same project, proving his versatility. Because of this overwhelming success, Destroy Lonely effortlessly earned his spot as the top artist in the newest generation of rappers. That is, after Yeat upgraded to mainstream popularity, slowly gaining more hype around his sophomore album as TikTok influencers ran wild with his unreleased track titled If Looks Could Kill. Fans posted videos suiting all black just like Lonely with the sound playing in the background, but still, no one could predict how well his next project would perform, even with the surrounding enthusiasm for Lone from the whole scene at the time, for his competitors have been roughly in the same position upon their releases and still had trouble breaking through to the mainstream. But I guess there's just something about Destroy Lonely's music and aesthetic that appeal to a wider audience. Perhaps the less abrupt vibe and mystical persona taken after his mentor Playboi Carti resonated with his fanbase more than the previous acts. For If Looks Could Kill, the album, just released in early May 2023, it is already projected to sell 35k units or so in its first week, competing and even beating in many cases mainstream artists with a lot more convoluted promotional schemes. Everyone just seemed to tune into Destroy Lonely, organically, a feeling similar to that of when Yeat released 2 Alive, or better yet, Whole Lotta Red, of course to a much lesser degree. Playboi Carti seems to be 2 for 2 thus far with his artist signees, and luckily for him, they're best friends and feed into each other's audiences, not to mention their alternate aliases when together, the Opium twins, that further puts Carti's label's success on display. There is no question that Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely have deeply benefited from Playboi Carti's leadership and cosign, but at this point, I think he's reaping the rewards as well. what talented artist wouldn't want to be signed to Opium after the success of Destroy Lonely and Ken Carson? And last, but certainly not least, the third artist signee to Opium was actually two artists, Homicide Gang, consisting of Homicide Bino and Homicide Michi, who have fostered their own unique sound within the underground rap scene as well. Although, of course, with a hint of Playboi Carti's influence, as their repertoire of producers are shared among the aforementioned artists, generally encompassing futuristic, hard rock inspired trap beats, but layered with their own style of more classic Atlanta style rap. Prior to their initial signing in 2021, Playboi Carti would hint at his affiliation with Homicide Gang that actually has some connections to street activity in multiple snippets that surfaced online mid-2020 leading up to the release of Whole Lotta Red, repeating the name in ad-libs, unbeknownst to fans. According to the group, they met Carti through their mutual friend Problem Child that Carti actually referenced on Stop Breathing amidst an alleged Atlanta gang war. Once they locked in at the studio, it only took one track, SSN, for Carti to show interest in signing them. And since, because of the Opium label back in their name, their careers have grown exponentially, once again without Carti mentioning a word about them publicly until recent interviews, a trend that ceases to lose effectiveness. The group has even faced its fair share of controversy as of late, but Opium and Carti alike seem to act as a force field as the fans remain eager to hear their music, including Homicide Gang's latest project, Snot or Not, that actually showcased some more versatility with respect to their beat selection and vocal ranges. I have no doubt that the group, as well as the other Opium label signees, will continue to progress as their mentor already has. Opium isn't just limited to their signees though, as it spreads past just solely business relationships. Lil Unky, Capo, and International Jefe seem to reap benefits from their affiliations with Homicide and Carti, yet remain independent. Perhaps in the coming years, after proving they can garner some movement of their own, Carti will recruit them officially to the Opium label as well. The impact all of the Opium members have had on the upcoming music scene's sound, production, and aesthetic is undeniable. I mean, no one can argue that aspiring artists and fans alike already emulate their entire personas in their attempts to attract as strong of a cult following. Kids dressing head to toe in all black Rick Owens outfits, meanwhile dragging their feet while walking to exude the very same fuck the world attitudes, high energy experimental production to encourage mosh pit performance music. Opium has seemed to have figured out the secret irresistible sauce that fans can't help but want to watch. They are the trendsetters in the newest generation aside from Yeet, Sofego, and others, but even some would argue that they utilize elements of the Opium methodologies in their own branding. In fact, they have had such a profound effect on upcoming music and its fan bases that I would say perhaps it could be potentially a detriment, in that if everyone is trying to copy a certain sound and aesthetic, is music as a whole really progressing? Especially when many listeners aren't even willing to check out other acts if it doesn't fit a cookie cutter brand. But what do I know? Just something to think about. But one thing for certain that the label has revolutionized is marketing, all thanks to Playboi Carti. For because of his elusive nature, the artists underneath him literally don't even have to market themselves or participate in any social media antics in order to promote their music. The fans are already tuned in. And to be honest, as much as I would love to dissect how he successfully created this atmosphere around his label, I don't even know if it can be explained, or better yet, replicated. Throughout his entire career, Playboi Carti has evaded confirmed release dates, controversies, collaborations, and countless other regular musician necessities, in the process developing a godlike relationship with his fan base, in that everything he does reduces to headline news. In his 6 to 7 years as a signed artist, he's only released 3 full-length projects, yet still remains relevant without posting on social media whatsoever, other than random selfies of women wearing high fashion. And because of this, fans create their own content surrounding his name, mostly in the name of leaks, by which he doesn't even have to release any music for his sound to spread across the web. And this is most definitely translated to his artists. This is the ever so powerful competitive advantage of the Opium label, and why everyone would sign on the dotted line instantly if given the chance. So with all this being said, there is no question in my mind that Opium represents the latest iteration of successful artist-run labels typically dominated by major record labels with much more organized resources and funding. already rivaling Cactus Jack by Travis Scott and others with its unique artistic vision that is second to none in regards to organic interest. Its overwhelming success will undoubtedly serve as a turning point in upcoming music culture, sound, aesthetics, and its impact for future artists will definitely be felt in upcoming years. Playboi Carti is well on his way to be objectively considered one of the greatest of all time, if he hasn't already reached such a point. Opium is just one piece of the puzzle.